gambling, sports betting, and everything of that sort. Now let's be honest, gambling's been going on for a while. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You know, you got casinos in places like Jersey, Louisiana, Florida. So I don't want to make it seem as if gambling is this new phenomenon. Even sports betting, you know, horse racing has been a thing. My family's been doing stuff like that since, you know, I was a young boy, since before I was double digits. And as a young boy who does not gamble at all, you know, I'm not a gambling man, I can see from the outside looking in that this is somewhat gotten out of hand. Now let's start off with all the obvious stuff, right? All the apps, all the services that, you know, promote gambling, sports betting, things of that nature. Prize Picks, Kalshi. There's other ones, but it's just so many. Basically all the stuff that TikTok creators, YouTubers, streamers, all them dudes promote. One of the top ones right now being Kalshi. Kalshi, you can literally bet almost anything, not just sports, not just specific wins. You can bet stats. You can bet freaking jersey colors, what jersey they're gonna wear. If they're gonna wear the old school, the alternate, or the regular home jersey. You can bet on things before the tip off, who sings the national anthem. You can bet on if a player's mom cries during his MVP speech. You can bet on the weather. You can bet on gas prices. You can literally bet anything. And that's where I think we have gotten to an extreme. So yeah, like I'm pretty sure if I told you 20 years ago that, hey, you'll be able to literally gamble or bet on the weather or the price of goods, you might believe it, but you probably think that's insane. I think it's a little more normalized now to bet on things like that. I'm pretty sure maybe if I told my mom that I was putting money on what the weather was gonna be like on June 11th, she probably wouldn't be too happy to hear that. She wouldn't have this large amount of concern, but a small amount would appear. And if you are a guy who uses Kalshi, that's no hate to you. I don't blame you, I've just never been in that, you know, circumstance. The thing with me for addictions is, as long as you don't let it control or take over your life, then it can't be that bad in my opinion. But obviously if you're one of these dudes who's putting his daughter's college tuition money up for grabs, betting your car, other assets, maybe some things that you're still paying off, that's where I think it goes too far. Like in reality, I feel like no one's mad at the person who goes to the casino every weekend and spends like half of his paycheck. Because you gotta keep in mind, a lot of people who gamble do have a lot of money. For instance, Jordan had a gambling addiction. If Jordan spends half of his yearly income on gambling, people aren't tripping. So yeah, if you're a guy, no wife, no kids, you just love gambling and you gamble a good amount of the money away, and you're still able to pay your bills on time because you live below your means in other aspects, whether it's the car you drive, whether it's the place you live at, whether you don't spend money on a whole bunch of other stuff like that, a lot of people really aren't mad at you if, you know, they're not thinking about themselves or just wanting to give unsolicited advice. A lot of people don't realize that the people who are upset with the people who are gambling too much are the people who are clearly ruining their lives, throwing opportunities out the window and leaving better opportunities on the table just to go gamble. Because yes, it probably is an unfortunate experience to watch someone you love or someone who you really benefit off of waste their money like that or throw some in the trash. Like recently, this Brendan Sorsby issue has come up, you know, the Texas Tech player, the QB who got $5 million to play at Tech. I literally went to high school with that guy. Dude had mad potential. He was literally training with our starting quarterback our year because he's like 2 years behind me. So the dude has always had a large amount of star potential since he was literally a freshman in high school, probably even before that. But allegedly he was gambling on not only his team, but you know, other teams for his school, whether it was baseball games, etc., right? Someone went on TikTok and said he was literally betting on singular pitches. And y'all know how the NCAA is, even with this NIL stuff coming, right? Gambling will never be allowed. And I feel like even with this NIL stuff, they're way more zero tolerance on it than they were in the past. Now, obviously, certain rules don't always apply, just like that is in life, right? Didn't Jameis Winston get himself into a good amount of trouble back in college? And that's not fair saying that, because a lot of people got themselves in college and had to, you know, maybe go to a JUCO to get back on their feet. Cam Newton was a guy who got in a good amount of trouble. But then again, like I said, we're talking about gambling compared to what Cam and Jameis did. But unfortunately, the road for Brandon Sorsby to get to the league, if he wanted to go to the league, unfortunately got harder based off of what people consider a gambling addiction. But I agree with this one guy when he said gambling up there with video games are two of the worst addictions for production or productivity, whatever. Because obviously when you're gambling, that's what you're doing. You're extremely focused on that. Versus something like alcohol, you can get a little tipsy and do certain things, right? You can do things around the house and be a little tipsy. And obviously there's levels to this. You got the dude who has one drink too many and, you know, wakes up, drinks, and then drinks until they go to bed. Then you got the guy who is in the casino for a little too long, and the guy who's obviously gambling away people's money, owing people money. But like they say, gambling is mainly for the thrill. That's why so many people with money gamble. A good amount of it is also probably greed. So it is one of those things that is unfortunate when people fall into it. Now, obviously, the psychology of it, I don't really know too much about how one is formed. You could argue a competitive mindset or whatever other thing you want to say is the reason why people go down this route. But let's be honest. We promote this, right? Look at all these TikTok ads. Look at all these YouTube ads. Look at all these Twitch ads. Most of them, if not dang near all the ones you see on a one-time basis when you're going through the app are going to be gambling stuff. Like I said, Cow Sheep, Prize Picks, and all the other ones I don't even know that much of. I think FanDuel is another one. Talking about some start your first bet off of like this much money, this and that. It's literally just a cash cow. Didn't Aiden Ross literally get into a whole combobble because he was putting his fans onto this stuff and they weren't getting their money back, or he was literally just getting banned? Yeah, that's what happened. He got banned off of Twitch or some of that aspect because they have an anti-gambling rule. Now, granted, I know for a fact there's probably a fat ton of money that they don't see that is in, you know, promoting this gambling stuff. It probably makes up a large fraction on what they would have made that month if they didn't do the promotion to get people to put in these parlays and all that. So yeah, I could understand it 100%. Heck, I'm not saying I'm a better person. If, you know, this YouTube thing blows up and I get the ads that, you know, they text me like, hey, you know, we sending a check and that check look real nice, I'm not the type of person to say that I'm just not gonna promote it. I'm an open-minded guy. Now, do I think gambling is bad? You know, honestly, no. To an extent, sure, yes. But like I said, there are people who do it and aren't self-destructive with it. There's people who can do it and know when to stop. If that's the case, there's so many other things that we can't promote as humans. We technically can't promote, you know, social media apps because people doom scroll all day. We technically can't promote food because why? Because some people are gonna overeat. People can't promote, you know, dating apps or dating shows because some people are gonna go on there and be lustful. They're only gonna look for certain things. So you always have to keep that in mind before you just say something's completely bad or something needs to be completely banned. Now granted, you can have your own opinion. I'm not telling you what to think or what not to think. Now granted, I don't know anybody close to me who has ruined their life for gambling or who has made terrible mistakes of gambling. So it doesn't hit real close to home. So, you know, it's easy to look in from the outside and go like, oh man, y'all ruining y'all life a little bit. Or you're going in a bad direction. But because I don't know anybody really on a super personal level. No family member, no friend, no coworker, no one on a personal level who I can look at and go like, yeah, this person is in it. Another thing you also have to keep in mind with gambling addictions is that if you have one and it is somewhere in a police report that this has happened, or somewhere, you know, anywhere online that, or anywhere in your bank account, or anywhere in your credit history that gambling has been an issue, it is harder to get certain things. For example, it's harder to get a security clearance if you have a gambling issue or have had a gambling issue. It's probably harder to get certain loans if you've had this issue as well. So yeah, that's just something to think about in that aspect. But anyways, yeah, I'm done talking. Appreciate you for watching today, and I ain't got too much. I don't know too much about this, you know. Y'all just be safe. Y'all do it right. I know a lot of y'all ain't gonna listen, and that's cool. Hey, you know, freedom. Hey, we live in America. Check out my other content if you want. Like and subscribe if you want. I got tons of videos where I just go out and chat like this. If you like it for whatever reason, If for whatever reason you want to see more videos like this, hey, just let me know in them comments. But yeah, I'm out of here. I appreciate you. Deuce.